डबलिन जहां पे प्रधानमंत्री दोनों देशों के प्रधानमंत्री संयुक्त प्रेस वार्ता को संबोधित कर रहे हैं।
Place great value on, and I welcomed the Prime Minister and his delegation here to our country, and we've expressed to them our Keith Míle Fáilte, our 100,000 welcomes. As we pointed out, the links between our two countries, small and very large, are deep and go back for a very, very long time. We discussed a whole range of issues about our connections, but also about the fact that the Irish path to independence, which we commemorate in a centenary way next year, 1916, is replicated in many ways by the journey that India and its people went on to achieve its independence. And in achieving that, the links between our countries were people who were here and in India and in many other cases. We discussed the economic progress of India and the economic progress of Ireland. The Prime Minister is very well versed on the challenges that Ireland faced, on the difficult choices that are. And now that the economy is growing, we see opportunities for trade, bilaterally, education, tourism, changes we've made in the visa structure, and so on. I've also welcomed the NIIT Limited Company here to Ireland with 110 jobs, with the IDA working strongly in terms of foreign direct investment here. 17 companies are settled here. Also, in respect of Smart Ferguson and Science Foundation Ireland, we see real opportunities for Irish skills, Irish IT, Irish innovation, to work with India in terms of many of the Prime Minister's real passions, dealing with the Ganges, hygiene, water, all of these areas where innovative Irish companies have made breakthroughs. So in that sense, Minister Sullivan is to sign a memorandum of understanding, and will travel to India to do so at an appropriate time. I've invited formally the Indian President to come here on a visit, and the Prime Minister is happy to communicate that, and we will make that arrangement whenever it's appropriate for the President to come here to our country. We look forward to increasing numbers both of Indian students who come here, and also Indian tourists, who are increasing in numbers of those who travel. We made the point that over 400 million people who speak English, a very strong middle-class base. Ireland, the only English-speaking country in the Eurozone, with a real opportunity here for further development. We discussed also the question of the non-recognition of medical internships in India not being recognised here, and Minister Varadkar has undertaken to deal with that by legislating for the anomaly that currently exists. Mr Flanagan is working very diligently with the Ambassador here and with his counterpart in terms of our views on the relationship between Europe and India, the blockages to trade that are there that we can see should be dealt with. We also discussed the question of the reform of the United Nations, the Security Council. We recognise that changes that take place there, on the one hand, should not diminish the opportunity of small countries to sit on the Security Council. On the other hand, should recognise the geopolitical realities of massive countries with power bases like India, and we will work diligently through the Minister and his counterparts in that regard. We've pointed out Ireland's very strong record in terms of humanitarian relief and peacekeeping missions around the world, our 60th year of involvement in that, and that since the UN was founded practically, Ireland's always had a presence somewhere on the planet dealing with humanitarian or peacekeeping issues. Currently we just sent the latest number of troops to the Golan Heights, which is a sensitive area, and I explained to the Prime Minister at a private meeting of our own history, of our understanding of what it is to live on another man's shore, of what migration actually means, of our own people having lost thousands to the Atlantic after the Great Famine, and that we understand what it is that the Syrian refugees are driven to cross the Mediterranean. We've sent down our naval vessel down there for a third trip on humanitarian issues. So we've enjoyed the conversation. Again, Prime Minister, it's our privilege, real privilege, to welcome you here, and we assured ourselves on behalf of the peoples that it will not be 60 years again before the link is made at prime ministerial level, whoever represents that, between Ireland and India and India and Ireland. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Your Excellency, Taoiseach, and Kenny, members of the media, it is truly a pleasure to be here in Ireland. Short this visit may be, it is historic. It has taken 59 years for an Indian Prime Minister to visit Ireland. Thank you for your very warm reception and gracious hospitality. Thank you for your kind words of friendship for India. India and Ireland share much in common. We can compare notes on our shared colonial history. Our constitutions have something sacred in common. The directive principles of state policy in the Indian Constitution are inspired by the Irish Constitution. Irish experts gave us institutions like the Geological Survey of India and the first Linguistic Survey of India. Today, sports manufacturers in India keep going Ireland's passion for rugby. From the friendship between Rabindranath Tagore and W.B. Yeats to the spiritual contribution of Sister Nivedita in India, the Irish and Indian people have formed strong bonds of affinity. Today, 26,000 Indians constitute a vibrant part of the Irish community. And the victims of the bombing of the Air India Kanishka aircraft find a resting place here. In the 30th anniversary year of that tragedy, we thank you once again for the memorial that honors them. In the pain of their unfading memory, we are also reminded of all that binds us today, our values and our aspirations, and the challenges that we all face today. India and Ireland must seek closer partnership and cooperation. India and Ireland are among the fastest growing economies of Asia and Europe. We are pleased that our bilateral trade and investment ties are growing despite global and regional uncertainties. Our economic partnership can have a strong technology focus, information technology, biotechnology, and pharmaceuticals, agriculture, and clean energy. Greater sensitivity of the European Union to India's commercial interests and challenges will help us resume discussions on India-UE broad-based trade and investment agreement. India and Ireland are ideally placed to form productive partnership to take advantage of the opportunities in the digital age. I hope that our joint working group of information technology will meet soon to chart out the roadmap for collaboration. I also hope that Ireland's visa policy will be sensitive to the requirements of India's information technology firms. I convey our interest in concluding a social security agreement which will be of great help to professionals from both countries. I am glad that we will soon have direct air services by airlines of both countries. This will not only promote our business links, but also give a strong boost to our tourism ties that are already growing at 14% per year. Science and technology and education are two other areas where we have a good history of cooperation and where we can do much more. India's Science Center in Karnataka is one example of that cooperation. I was pleased to exchange views on a broad range of international challenges, including terrorism, radicalization, and the situation in Europe and Asia. Our discussion underlined the importance of closer cooperation between countries like India and Ireland, which share democratic values and are consistent advocates of international peace and stability. In this context, we discuss the role of the United Nations and its Security Council in meeting these challenges in the 21st century. India and Ireland have been partners in peacekeeping operations. I thank Ireland for its leadership in sustainable development goals. I sought Ireland's support for the reforms of the UN Security Council within the fixed time frame, in particular for successful conclusion of intergovernmental negotiations in the 70th year of the United Nations. I also sought his support for India's permanent membership of the Reformed Security Council. India and Ireland are peace-loving countries. We have both been at the forefront on non-proliferation. We respect Ireland's strong and principled position on this issue. India has also been a leading voice on universal nuclear disarmament since independence. We remain strongly committed to that goal. Our credentials and record non-proliferation are second to none. Ireland's support was crucial for India's specific exemption from the Nuclear Suppliers Group in 2008. With rapid growth in India's enormous energy demand, it has opened a big option to pursue a sustainable development path. I have now sought Ireland's support for India's membership of the NSG and other international export control regimes. India's membership will deepen our bilateral cooperation and strengthen international non-proliferation efforts. Mr. Prime Minister, I live convinced that India and Ireland must invest more to realize the vast potential of this relationship. India was the first country with which you established diplomatic relations in Asia. We can now be your anchor in Asia. Similarly, for India, I see Ireland as a vital gateway to Europe and a bridge across the Atlantic. Thank you once again for your hospitality, and it has been a couple of decades since you last visited India. I look forward to seeing you in India. Thank you.
आयरलैंड के डबलिन से, जहां पे आयरलैंड और भारत दोनों के प्रधानमंत्रियों ने संयुक्त प्रेस वार्ता संबोधित किया, संयुक्त ज्ञापन दिया। और जिस तरह से प्रधानमंत्री ने अपने संबोधन के अंत में कहा कि उन्हें बिल्कुल आश्वस्त हैं कि दोनों देशों के बीच रिश्ते नई ऊंचाइयों तक आने वाले वक्त में बढ़ेंगे। उन्होंने तमाम मुद्दों पर जोर दिया। उन्होंने शुरुआत अपने वक्तव्य की कि जिस तरह से सांस्कृतिक संबंध रहे हैं दोनों देशों के बीच, आर्थिक संबंध जिस तरह से पिछले कई दशकों में विकसित हुए हैं, वो इस बात की बयानी करता है कि ये संबंध और भी नई ऊंचाइयों तक जा सकता है। खासकर उन्होंने जोर दिया जिस तरह से आईटी क्षेत्र में, जिस तरह से सूचना प्रौद्योगिकी के क्षेत्र में, इसके अलावा उन्होंने जोर दिया सॉफ्टवेयर, हार्डवेयर, तमाम क्षेत्रों में। और इस बात की उम्मीद प्रधानमंत्री मोदी ने जताई कि आने वाले वक्त में आयरलैंड वीज़ा पॉलिसी खासकर उन कंपनियों के लिए जो आईटी क्षेत्र से संबंधित रखते हैं उनके प्रति एक नया नज़रिया अपनाएगा। इसके अलावा प्रधानमंत्री ने कहा कि आने वाले संबंध में भारत और आयरलैंड के बीच में सीधी हवाई संपर्क स्थापित हो सकता है। और उन्होंने कहा कि जिस तरह से दोनों देशों के बीच में व्यापार तेज़ी से बढ़ रहा है, फिलहाल 14% प्रति वर्ष की रफ्तार से बढ़ रहा है, ये आने वाले वक्त के लिए काफ़ी अच्छा संकेत है। इसके अलावा आतंकवाद और संयुक्त राष्ट्र में सुधार संबंधी मुद्दों का भी उन्होंने अपनी बात रखी और आयरलैंड को धन्यवाद दिया जिस तरह से आयरलैंड इस मुद्दे को लेकर भारत के समर्थन में आया है। फिलहाल हमारे इस विशेष प्रसारण में इतना ही। नमस्कार।